This is the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite and Dan Rather in Key Biscayne, Florida, Robert Shackney in New York, Terry Drinkwater in Palo Alto, California, and George Severson in Wade.
Good evening. A lot of American soldiers may be coming home from Vietnam in the near future. The story from CBS News White House correspondent Dan Rather in Key Biscayne, Florida.
President Nixon has made up his mind to withdraw 35,000 to 50,000 troops from South Vietnam, according to sources near the top in the American intelligence community. But he is being urged and appears inclined to time the first troop withdrawals for early summer in hopes of reducing the potential for violence in U.S. cities. The president's advisors fear widespread outbreaks of violence in major cities this summer. Intelligence reports from one metropolitan area after another indicate that militants are planning major confrontations with police. Some of these militants are said to be involved in campus violence this spring, hoping to recruit anti-war students for demonstrations in the summer. The whole broad area of campus trouble and big city violence this summer is being discussed here this weekend by the president with, among others, Attorney General John Mitchell and Secretary of Health, Education, and Welfare Robert Finch. The psychology behind wanting to time the first troop reductions for summer is the hope that it will reduce Vietnam as a spark for demonstrations. The initial troop withdrawals, by the way, are said to be part of a long-range plan for phasing the United States out of South Vietnam, a plan that depends more on the South Vietnamese government's ability to improve itself militarily and politically than it does on anything happening in Paris. Dan Rather, CBS News, Key Biscayne, Florida.
Dan, reports circulating in Saigon today and denied by the Pentagon said that the first American unit to pull out probably will be the 25th Division. According to UPI, all rest and recreation leaves running past June 30th have been delayed for division personnel. Soldiers in the 25th holding critical jobs have been told they can expect reassignment orders shortly, and division officers transferring to Hawaii have been told to apply for on-post quarters before June 30th. Hawaii is the 25th's home base. An initial reduction of 50,000 men would still leave about 500,000 American troops in Vietnam. Units of the 25th were involved today in one of three battles with enemy troops across South Vietnam. Two of the engagements lasted into the night. At least 100 Viet Cong and North Vietnamese were reported killed. American casualties were described as light. Secretary of State Rogers tonight said that the Viet Cong's 10-point peace proposal in Paris contains elements which may offer a possibility for exploration. In the first formal administration response to the proposal, Rogers also said some parts of it, unspecified, are clearly unacceptable. He said the plan will require careful study and clarification. South Vietnam's reaction to the Viet Cong program was similar. It was conciliatory when compared to past responses, but did reject the proposal for a coalition government. There has been a delay in a U.S. troop departure from South Korea as a result of new tensions with the Communist North. 2,000 men were scheduled to come home in May, but their tours have now been extended for 31 days.
Nice warm bath. Just great for relief of muscular aches and pains, stiffness, minor arthritic pain. And the good news is that today's Absorbine Junior actually helps soak away aches and pains like a warm bath. Even better. What's more, it's medicated, so when muscles are sore, knotted, and tired, just rub Absorbine Junior with its control flow applicator into the area that hurts. It releases warmth that penetrates deep to soak away aches and pains. Warmth that penetrates deep to soak away stiffness, penetrates deep to soak away fatigue and tension. Ah, just great. Today's Absorbine Junior for fast, long-lasting relief. Absorbine Junior helps soak away aches and pains like a warm bath. Even better, Absorbine Junior. Try it.
In New Hampshire today, 45 Dartmouth College students were sentenced to 30-day jail terms and fined $100 each. They defied a court order to vacate an administration building they seized in protests against the ROTC. At Howard University in Washington, D.C., federal marshals and city police used tear gas to evict students from 6 administration buildings they'd occupied for 2 days. 23 were arrested. And in New York City, Dr. Buell Gallagher resigned as president of City College of New York following 2 days of renewed campus violence. Robert Shackney is the correspondent in this report.
I have this morning requested the Board of Higher Education to relieve me of my duties and responsibilities as president of the City College at the earliest possible moment, and certainly not later than 9 o'clock Monday morning, May 12.
When the word came out that City College President Buell Gallagher had resigned because of campus violence, the violence itself had for the moment stopped. If nothing else, a driving rainstorm made outdoor political demonstrations far more difficult today. And when a demonstration was in fact organized by white student radicals, it wasn't very big, it failed to create much attention, and it finally was dispersed forcefully but without violence by the big police detail on guard at the campus. But it was widely held on campus that today was only a reprieve from more turbulence. A number of city politicians have put the blame for this turbulence on President Gallagher. They forced him to reopen the campus against his own recommendations. So today, his resignation.
With the intrusion of politically motivated outside forces in recent days, it has become impossible to carry on the processes of reason and persuasion. Confronted today with the final impasse, I must relinquish my post to another man, possibly one of different temperament. The city of New York and its great college deserve a future which it had been my hope to help realize more fully. But when the forces of angry rebellion and stern repression clash, the irrepressible conflict is joined. A man of peace, a reconciler, a man of compassion must stand aside for a time and await the moment when sanity returns and brotherhood based on justice becomes a possibility.
In Chicago today, Yale University President Kingman Brewster said there will be no end to campus violence without government efforts to end the war in Vietnam and improve race relations. Later, he was asked to comment on the Gallagher decision to step down.
Stepping down, falling down, running down. No, needless to say, if someone had told me 5 years ago, when I took my present job, that I was going to be thinking about the things that we're now talking about or thinking about, I would have thought he was crazy. There's no doubt at all that the business of academic leadership, it shouldn't be a political business. It shouldn't turn us all into campus cops. So naturally, there is going to be a lot of stepping down, as you politely put it, but also what worries me is that the temptation of trustees and regents is going to be to try to bring into college presidencies people who may be fitted by previous military, police, or political experience, but who may not be the right people as educators. This would be too bad. Obviously, if coercion and violence replaced reason and persuasion on campuses, the campuses would not deserve support. At the same time, if externally imposed political coercion came to dominate the campus, you would have destroyed the only institution to which the society can turn for the development of new knowledge, the questioning of old assumptions, and the stretching of the minds of oncoming generations. So that I think we must not be forced to choose between violence and counter-violence. Neither one is acceptable.
The Senate today began an investigation of the college rebellion. The first witness was a waterfront philosopher who never had a formal education, Eric Hopper.
Mr. Chairman, I am not a man of affairs. I spent half of my life as a migratory worker, half of my life as a longshoreman. I don't know anything of the grand world, the world of big transactions or anything like that. But what strikes me again and again is the moment I look at university, there is a lack of ability to get angry, Mr. Chairman. You got to get angry and you got to have courage enough to lay your life down on the line. We have forgotten what courage is, Mr. Chairman. We have forgotten it. We are just taking things in their stride, the Pueblo, this, that. We're just taking it, we're swallowing it there. There is no example of courage anymore. Nobody even thinks of courage anymore. And so, I think what you need, Mr. Chairman, is not new strong laws. You need men of strong character. It's men who are going to solve your problems, not laws. What I mean is that you need chancellors or universities and mayors of cities who delight in battle, who love a fight, who when they get up in the morning spit on their hands and say, whom do I kill today? These are the people that they will save you. And maybe if you have such people, you won't have even to fight. You'll be surprised. What an effect the courageous man has. I think every one of you knows examples when a man is ready to put his life on the line and he goes in there. You won't need even police for that. Can you hear me?
Yes. Gotcha.
Yeah. So what I say is, you have to get yourself some strong men of character, men who are not afraid.
The White House said today that President Nixon plans to deliver 2 commencement addresses at the Air Force Academy on June 4th and at Ohio State University on June 7th.
Your headache must be a doozy.
It's something, man.
Then here, take these. They contain the strongest pain reliever you can buy. Now, how do you feel?
Hey, great. I'm heading downtown. Have a little fun. Hey, that stuff you gave me, something new, huh?
What I gave you contains the strongest pain reliever you can buy.
Oh, I got you. Some new triple strength, triple fast discovery, huh?
No. What I gave you was Bayer aspirin. Because aspirin is the strongest pain reliever you can buy. That means nothing is stronger than Bayer aspirin. Because Bayer is 100% aspirin. And aspirin is the strongest pain reliever you can buy. Bayer works wonders.
Yeah.
Czechoslovakia's new communist chief, Gustav Husak, already seems to be having more success in dealing with the Soviet occupiers than his liberal predecessor, Alexander Dubček. Today, the Soviet Army announced it is halting publication of a propaganda sheet that had been in circulation since last August's invasion. Earlier demands for its closing by the liberals got nowhere. European currency speculators got a major jolt this evening. For almost 2 weeks, they've been buying West German marks at a record rate, figuring that the value of the currency would be raised. But the Bonn government, after a long cabinet session, announced tonight there will be no revaluation, and thus no quick profit for the speculators. European money markets, after another hectic day, already had closed for the weekend, but in New York, the mark dropped sharply. The averages were mixed on the New York Stock Exchange today. Volume was 12,500,000 shares. The New York Exchange Index was unchanged. The American Exchange Index gained 1 cent. President Nixon's science advisor, Dr. Lee Dubridge, went before a Senate hearing today to testify about the space agency budget. But while there, under questioning, he also took his first public stand on the Safeguard anti-ballistic missile system.
A scientist, and speaking strictly as a scientist without any emotion involved, do you think it's impossible to have this system work?
I'm afraid, Senator Goldwater, I do not understand what many people mean when they say it won't work, because it has worked. All of the components of the present Safeguard system have been tested. The radars work, the computers work, the missiles work. Interceptions have been achieved in test firings, so that it is a workable system in the sense that one can detect an incoming missile, can determine where it's going to be at a particular time, can launch a missile which will intercept and destroy the incoming missile. So from the technical point of view, a workable system is already under test and it already exists.
Senator Edward Kennedy and 3 fellow Democrats on the Judiciary Committee today held up action on the confirmation of Otto Otepka as a member of the Subversive Activities Control Board. They said they want to know more about the source of income of the controversial State Department officer. They also asked for information about any connections he may have with such right-wing organizations as the John Birch Society and the Liberty Lobby. Melvin Belli, the noted criminal attorney and one-time defender of Jack Ruby, today told KOLD TV in Tucson that he's going to handle Sirhan Sirhan's appeal. Sirhan's original lawyer, Grant Cooper, said he will quit the case if Belli enters it.
Oh, the disadvantages of the Benson and Hedges 100s. They're a lot longer than king size, and that takes some getting used to. Benson and Hedges 100s must taste pretty good. Look what people put up with to smoke them.
There have been 74 heart transplant operations in the United States. Earlier this week, a Stanford University psychiatrist reported that some heart recipients became psychotic. But there's another side to that story, and Terry Drinkwater has it.
I feel great. I feel 10 years younger than I did last Friday. I really do. What about your weight? Weight has been going up until today when I went down 1 pound. What is it? Today's 153, yesterday was 154. It's been 154 for the last 4 days.
I think 155 is your peak.
That's it. Then I diet like in the old days. Right.
Sasha Gillian. 3 months ago, he was given a new heart. There have been so many transplants that his surgery was not news then, and it would not be news now if Sasha Gillian were the only surviving heart transplant patient at Stanford. The success of the procedure here is such that 4 of the men with new hearts aren't even hospitalized at all anymore. They just come in for checkups. And the only thing that distinguishes them from the other cardiac patients here is their masks. Masks they wear only here so they won't pick up germs.
If I just don't try and kill the ball, I can generally do pretty good.
On August 31st of 1968, Bob McKee might well have died. That was the date of his transplant. There are now times when he thinks more about his golf game than his new heart.
Top that one. You know, there's a hard shot to make. If I make that one, I'll be pretty good. You know that?
Exercise like this isn't just a show-off. It's a most vital part of Stanford's post-transplant procedures. Physical exertion helps to keep down the patient's weight. McKee goes swimming with another transplant patient, Carl Schaefer. The drugs they take to prevent rejection also weaken the body's resistance to infection. And all 4 of Stanford's most successful transplant patients have had pneumonia, but none serious, and all are now able to swim regularly and to compare notes on their recovery.
Beyond my wildest dreams. Never thought that I'd be able to swim and play golf, horseback riding. I never thought I'd be able to do it. It's wonderful now.
It really makes an improvement in you, don't it?
Well, being 52, you can't expect everything.
That's right.
But I feel better now than I did when I was 30.
What science has learned about heart transplants since the first ones is more significant than the historic first attempt itself. Dr. Norman Shumway, chief of Stanford's heart transplant team. In layman's terms, would you say you are more effectively treating problems of rejection and potential problems of rejection?
Well, I would say this, that those that we are treating them better. I don't think there's any doubt about that, but also that with time there's an amelioration of their magnitude. It diminishes so that they are, in fact, easier to treat. And we see very little rejection, for example, after about 6 weeks or 1 month following transplantation. Now, whether this will stand up in every case remains to be seen.
Before his own heart failed, Sasha Gillian had a successful career as a freelance writer for television. He hopes to begin work on scripts again soon. Meanwhile, he has finished a book, a lighthearted spoof on presidential politics, which will be published this summer. He says he is enjoying life more than ever before.
Well, for instance, I the other day, just for the first time in many years, I had a chocolate ice cream soda. And that chocolate ice cream soda tasted like a chocolate ice cream soda should taste. It was, I can't describe it, it was the essence of chocolate ice cream sodas. You know, it was tasted very right. I'm not as blasé, I guess, or as jaded about things as I might have been. I have absolutely no fears in terms of my health. I have absolute faith that I was sick and I was made well. I think that my feelings are more intense. Appreciation of, simple things are much more deep. I love my wife, it seems, more than I ever did before. I took things for granted, just like everybody else does. But when you hear those big wings flapping and then you come back to life, as I did, thanks to the heart transplant, I think life means a lot more. That might sound a little trite, but it's very true.
Dr. Shumway is still cautious. He insists from a medical standpoint, each heart transplant is a clinical trial. But he also now concedes that for patients like Gillian, a transplant is much more than just a clinical trial. Terry Drinkwater, CBS News, Palo Alto, California.
America's first man in space said today that he is again an active astronaut and hopes to land on the moon in 1970. Alan Shepard was grounded by an ear disorder after his 1961 suborbital space flight. Now he says an operation he financed himself has brought him back to flight status, and he may make a moon flight as soon as next February.
Get ready for the goingest going thing from Ford, the new Maverick. Ford's made a smaller car to give you a bigger choice. Maverick, with space for big people, with power to move and pass, and a gas economy rebellion. Put it all together and it'll park on a dime and cost you all of $19.95 for the whole bit. Say goodbye to old paint and say hello to Hullabaloo. Anti-establishment. Original cinnamon. Freudian guilt. And thanks, vermilion. It all sounds like a put-on till you put it on. Maverick from Ford at your Ford dealers. The place you gotta go to see what's going on.
Except for the loneliness of the distant soldier and the pain of mothers bereaved, there's little to tie in this Sunday's observance of Mother's Day with the Vietnam War. But out there is a sect of mother worshippers whose political activities, by strange coincidence, today point up some of the less publicized difficulties that will continue to plague Vietnam, peace or no. George Sievertson reports.
This is the climax of a 3-day ceremony of the oldest religion in Vietnam, the worshippers of the Mother Goddess. The purpose is to pray for peace, but in addition to religious motives, this ceremony contains strong political overtones. The celebration began at the Hue Nam Temple, a sacred place for this religion about 10 miles west of Hue. Here, the prayers for peace in Vietnam began. Then the symbols of the deity, accompanied by her high priestesses, set out on a 10-mile march to the old imperial capital of Hue. The procession of several thousand faithful stretched out for more than a mile. A celebration like this is a costly affair. In the old days, the emperor used to foot the bill. But the last time the court sponsored a celebration of this magnitude was more than 20 years ago. Now, after a lapse of almost a generation, the funds were found to stage an old-fashioned observance of the yearly procession to Hue. The money, according to Vietnamese sources here, came from the well-to-do courtiers and relatives of Bao Dai,
the last Vietnamese emperor who was exiled to Paris in 1954. But hopes for a restoration of the emperor still burn strong in the royalists' hearts. The Bao Dai Party in Hue is known to be in favor of a three-way partition of Vietnam when a peace settlement is reached. A partition that would split Vietnam into a communist North Vietnam, a neutral Central Vietnam with its capital in Hue, and an anti-communist South Vietnam. The logical ruler of Central Vietnam, to their minds, would be the Emperor Bao Dai, who would restore Hue in Central Vietnam to its former glory as the center of ancient Vietnamese culture and tradition. As part of its quiet campaign to drum up support for these goals, according to Vietnamese sources, the Bao Dai Party sponsored this ancient religious rite once again. There is much support for the Bao Dai dream here in Hue and much of the rest of Central Vietnam. Resentment of the Saigon government is widespread in this part of the country, and the people of Hue have never really accepted the transfer of power to people they regard as interlopers and upstarts. So while the North Vietnamese are fighting for one Vietnam, and the Southerners are fighting for two independent Vietnams, there are others like these people in Hue who are hoping and praying for three Vietnams. George Sievertson, CBS News, in the former imperial capital of Hue.
The Vatican announced today that dozens of saints have been dropped from the Roman Catholic Church's liturgical calendar. Some saints were demoted, the Church said, because their existences are now considered officially in doubt. The action means that Catholics no longer must venerate these saints, although they remain free to do so. Included in the demotion were such popular saints as St. Christopher, the patron saint of travel, St. George, the patron saint of England and legendary slayer of the dragon, and St. Nicholas, patron saint of children. Some cynics say today's edict has thus killed Santa Claus. For Virginia, that just isn't so. And that's the way it is. Friday, May 9th, 1969. This is Walter Cronkite, CBS News. Good night.
That's if I can.
Hi, where's Bill?
Day off. Beer for me. You, Jack?
Beer's fine.
2 beers.
2 beers, huh? Gentlemen, if you're going to have beer, why don't you have the finest? Miller High Life.
Good beer, huh?
Good. Let me tell you, the Miller High Life people brew their beer right to the peak of perfection. So you always get the same real flavor in every bottle.
Sounds good.
Good. It's the finest. Our biggest seller, too.
Say, don't they call that the champagne of bottled beer?
Right you are.
So, how long have we been drinking Miller?
2 or 3 years.
Then why do you order just beer?
When we say beer, we mean Miller High Life.
Ask for Miller High Life. On tap, in cans, and in crystal clear bottles. Sparkling, flavorful, distinctive.
Direct from our newsroom in New York, in color, this has been the CBS Evening News with Walter Cronkite.